Hey y'all, IRIX guy here, and I want to do a review of several popular dive watches. Now these are all they're all certified chronometers, meaning that they were tested by the COSC and they met or exceeded certain timing requirements. Just looking at this from left to right, you've got the Submariner 114060, which is the ceramic bezel. Then you've got the Omega Seamaster 300M with the blue wave pattern dial. That's one of the what's referred to as James Bond watches. And then you've got the Ulysse Nardin marine diver with a burgundy dial. Now the Submariner has no date. The Omega Seamaster has a date. The Ulysse Nardin has a power reserve indicator, small seconds, and a date. So let's pick these up and let's just kind of talk about the differences that I've found with these three pieces. So obviously the Submariner 114060, it has an in-house movement. It's made by Rolex, and that's what makes a lot of collectors prefer. Hold on, I got some water on it here because it just came out of the water. It's been swimming. So yeah, it's got the in-house Rolex movement, which is something that a lot of collectors prefer. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, there's no date. This is the Submariner that most people, including myself, prefer. I don't like a date on a Submariner, and if I was going to go that route, I would go Sea Dweller that has date but doesn't have the date Cyclops. So I think this is just a really good piece. I know there's a lot of people that have mixed opinions about the Submariner, but if you're a collector and maybe you just like to wear a good dive watch, this is something that you can wear and it'll likely continue to appreciate in value. And in my opinion, Rolex makes some of the best cases on the market, and then the bezel's just so smooth. Obviously very simplistic design, nothing flashy. And this is a watch that you'll probably see on a lot of wrists because a lot of people assume that Rolex is the only watch out there, and if you have a Rolex that you're better than everybody else. That's the assumption a lot of people have. But to a collector like myself, it's just a really good piece, and a piece that everyone I feel should have in their dive watch rotation. So again, that's Submariner 114060. Now this right here is a lot of people refer to it as the James Bond watch. And you can see on the dial there, and let me wipe some of that water off. You can see on the dial there, especially if you have a 4K monitor, crank up the quality by clicking that gear towards the bottom right to 4K. And you can see the wave pattern on the dial. This obviously is not a ceramic bezel. This is a much older reference than the Submariner that we just looked at. And you can hear the bezel's really smooth. This bezel, because I do swim with it and I take it into oceans around the world, it's faded a little bit. See, it's new. This would be a darker blue color. I think it looks good. One thing I would mention is that, if you're looking at Omega, those that have, especially the Planet Oceans that have the orange bezels, there's been a lot of reports that I've heard from collectors that those orange bezels fade and it's not in a good looking way. So just something to be aware of. But as I mentioned previously, this does have a date. Obviously both this and actually all three of these dive watches, they're rated to 300 meters, 1,000 feet. And as I mentioned previously, they're all chronometers. A good bracelet. That's one thing I like about Omega. They make a really nice bracelet. I think it's a better bracelet than Rolex, but it doesn't have screws like the Rolex had. It has pins. And let me open that bracelet up on that Submariner. It's called the flip lock clasp. But when you hold an Omega and you hold a Rolex, at least in my opinion, and as I've mentioned, see, this has screws instead of pins. So from that perspective, I like the Rolex bracelet better because it has screws. But just the overall feel of the Rolex bracelet, in my opinion, it doesn't feel as good as the Seamaster as far as a build quality perspective is concerned. But with that said, I think the watch itself is a better watch than the Omega Seamaster. And then you've got one of the lesser known pieces out here. Now if you're looking for a dive watch, you're probably familiar with the Omega Seamaster that you just looked at in the Rolex Submariner, but you may not be familiar with this. Now this is it's a Ulysse Nardin marine diver. It's got a burgundy dial. This is a less common piece. I'm just wiping it off because it's been swimming. Hold on just a second here. This is a less common piece because, it kind of looks like a Yachtmaster, like a Rolex Yachtmaster because of the bezel. It's got nice bezel movement, not as smooth in my opinion as the Submariner or the Seamaster. As I mentioned earlier, it has a small seconds. It has a date Cyclops, but see, it's going in. Whereas on a Rolex Submariner date, you would see a Cyclops on the Sapphire. There's a magnifier there, but it's on the inside. So it's, when you look at the top of the Sapphire, it's flat. So that's something that makes this piece desirable for a lot of people. Power reserve indicator, got a little bit over half power right now, as you can see. The Loom, and that's something I didn't mention about the Submariner and the Seamaster, is that the luminescent markers on this, this has some of the best Loom that I've encountered on a dive watch. And what we're going to do here in a second is turn the light off so you can see that Loom. The bracelet, I think it's the best bracelet. It uses screws. It's just a chunkier feel. It's got that little anchor logo in there for Ulysse Nardin. And you can also get this on a rubber strap if you prefer that, but I don't really care for the rubber strap. And then you've got the clasp right here. So I like to refer to this bracelet as kind of the best of Omega and Rolex, because you've got the Omega style build quality of the bracelet. It's heavier. But then you've got the screws like you have in the Submariner. And you've got a clasp very similar to the Omega. So this is a piece right here. If you've been, I want to get a Rolex Submariner or Omega Seamaster, you may want to check out this Ulysse Nardin marine diver. And now we're going to check out the Loom on these. I'll turn this light out here. So as I had mentioned previously, the Loom on the one on the bottom of this screen right now, that's the Ulysse Nardin. So this is the Ulysse Nardin right here. You can see quite possibly the best Loom of most any dive watch out there. The next we have the Omega Seamaster 300M. And then we got the Rolex Submariner 114060. And this being the 114060 reference, the one with the ceramic bezel, when you look at those three side by side, you do notice that on the top, the Submariner, that it does indeed have more of a bluish color to it. Now that was something that was not immediately noticeable with the Submariner, but when you put it beside these two pieces, you can definitely see it's more of a blue. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here. Move some of these closer together here. So see there, you can see the Submariner on the top definitely looks more of a bluish color than the Omega or the Ulysse Nardin. So, in conclusion here, in my professional opinion, they're all really excellent dive watches. And would I recommend one over the other? Yeah, it's really just a matter of what you're looking for. Obviously, if you're going for resale, future resale possibility, I would definitely go with the Submariner first, the Omega Seamaster second, and the Ulysse Nardin third. If I was looking for overall ruggedness, and that's taking into consideration the watch, the bracelet, and all of those things considered, I would go with the Omega Seamaster first. And then second, I would go with the Submariner, and then third, the Ulysse Nardin. If I wanted to be most noticed when I was wearing this piece by your mainstream person on the street, I would go Rolex Submariner, I would go Seamaster, I would go Ulysse Nardin. If I wanted to impress the watch people, the people that are serious about watch collecting, I would go Ulysse Nardin, I would go Omega, and then I would go Rolex. So there's a lot of things you can take into consideration, and again, never look at a watch as an investment. Although some of them may become investments, don't necessarily look at it as an investment. Look at it as something that you're going to wear. Because I wear all of these religiously. And if you're not going to swim with it, then, in my opinion, there's no point of getting a dive watch. So my professional opinion is that, it's a tool watch, meaning you can wear it anywhere and do pretty much anything with it. So, with that said, they're great pieces. And be sure to check out, got a website I put together. It's called timepiecesfortomorrow.com. And you can check that out. I've got a lot of wristwatch collecting information on there. And just a good hobby and something you can enjoy wearing. And in many scenarios, a lot of people, they always say you can judge someone by their shoes and their watch. And that's pretty true, because most of the time, I don't wear shoes a lot. I wear flip-flops, but I always wear a nice watch. So that's a very true statement. And appreciate your viewership, and be sure to subscribe to youtube.com/IrixGuy. Y'all have a good day.